Welcome, everyone. My name is Ryan Baer, and I'm a solutions engineer here at HelpShift. I work with our clients to leverage the most value from their HelpShift investment, with my specific focus being on creating custom bots for self-service, which is what we'll be covering today. Being able to use your data within custom bots through external APIs. Just a quick agenda for today. I'll give you an overview of the capabilities, show you how to set up external API requests that can retrieve or update client data from your external systems. We'll then look to leverage the newly created external API endpoints within a custom bot interaction. I will cover use cases, how using your external data can cut down on headcount or outsourcing requirements, and look at the ROI of doing so. And then we'll give a full demonstration on how this goes about getting set up. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please use the Q&A function in the webinar platform, and I'll cover these at the end of the session. A quick overview of the difference between full and partial automation and how external data can greatly increase the capabilities of full automation. A bot flow can be as simple or as complex as needed. The dark green diamonds here represent the first message the bot has with the end user. The light purple diamonds represent different automations or routing. The black diamond here represents an external API call. In the bottom example, it shows a simple bot flow. However, none of these are automated through data. Each of these require an agent intervention at the end, with the custom bot gathering information to support the agent resolving the issue faster, but not actually cutting down on the time needed to look up information in external systems and actually have the capability to fully automate that. The top example, however, shows the same workflow as below, but leverages your data to fully resolve the custom bot or within a custom bot and doesn't require an agent to intervene. An example of this, and we'll cover more use cases later in the presentation, is a refund for in-app purchases for mobile games, leveraging Google's refund request API, which is publicly available. For those of you that are just starting out, let's quickly understand what an API is. API is the acronym for Application Programming Interface, which is a software intermediary that allows two applications to talk to one another. When you use an application on your mobile phone, the application connects to the internet and sends data to the server. The server then retrieves that data, it interprets it, performs the necessary actions, and sends that back to your phone. The application then interprets that data and presents you with the information that you wanted in a readable way. This is what an API is. All of this happens via API. Let's explain that a little bit better. Let's look at a familiar example. Imagine that you're sitting at a table in a restaurant with a menu of choices to order from. The kitchen is part of the system that will prepare your order. What is missing is the critical link to communicate your order to the kitchen and to be able to deliver your food back to your table. That's where the waiter, or in this case the API, comes into play. The waiter is the messenger, or the API, that takes your request or order and tells the kitchen, in this case the system, what to do. The waiter then delivers your response back to you, in this case it's the food. So why is external data through APIs important to your HelpShift investment? External APIs allow you to maximize your investment by delivering end-to-end workflow automation. This not only gives your users full self-service capabilities, but it can also give your agents a single system to work out of and remove the need for accessing multiple systems to be able to resolve a customer's issue. All of this combined gives you an integrated solution within your system's landscape, which can reduce agent headcount needs and be able to cut down on seasonal spikes in issue volumes that require agent involvement. Here we have a visual representation of the data integration capabilities within HelpShift. On the left-hand side is our messaging clients, which can be handled online through JavaScript or in-app through our SDK. The HelpShift SDK has full API capabilities, which can connect to your app code and communicate with third-party systems or middleware. Within the HelpShift platform, once assignment has happened, in this case with a custom bot, they can then utilize an external API that can communicate with third-party systems or middleware. This will be the focus on the rest of the presentation today and the demonstration that I'll go into a little bit later. For additional visibility, though, we can also do post-issue resolution communication through either the HS API or the Analytics API, which is an add-on feature that we offer to Microsoft Power BI or any third-party BI platform that you're using. If you do need to do post-issue creation enrichment of the issue, Prior to assignment, we do offer webhooks to support that use case. Now, let's give a quick overview on how you accomplish setting up connections to external systems within your HelpShift platform. First, let's look at how you go about setting up the connection so that you're able to utilize external data within a custom bot. Hit Settings on the left-hand navigation bar and select the option External API Requests in the Settings page, and then click on the New API Request button. Please note that only system administrators can set these up. Agents and supervisor roles are unable to access that. Once you do have that external API step set up, you're able to use those within the bot builder, consume and create APIs to send and receive responses from your other systems. We support making an API request, using responses from the requested payload in the bot message, using responses from external requests to branch on the bot flow, and create a list of options for the requests that your users are able to select from. Within the HelpShift bot builder, add a bot step, choose the Make an API Request option from the step menu. And I'm going to go ahead and walk through the creation process when we go through the demonstration itself. Here are some quick high-level use cases that you could fully automate within a custom bot flow. If you're using a commerce system, you can initiate a return, place an order or place a reorder, check the status of a shipment, update your billing address, or any other action that has a single accessible data point or available within an array of data. For financial systems, you can initiate a refund request. You're able to check the status of a refund, cancel or stop subscriptions. For account-based systems, in a custom bot flow, you could allow your users to delete their account, reset their password, check their account balance, or update their email address. If you're using fintech systems, your users could check the status of a loan application, the date of next payment, available funds, deposit clearing, wire transfer status, or be able to order replacement cards or even defer payments. I want to call out some core requirements and some best practices to ensure you go about setting up external APIs that will drive the maximum value. Both titles and URLs are mandatory, along with type. We support GET, POST, and PUT requests. GET requests retrieve data from external systems. POST requests write data to external systems, and PUT requests update data in external systems. For authentication, we support basic HTTP and custom authentication. Enter the target URL for the API endpoint. Optionally, you can also enter a dynamic URL that includes parameters and variables in the target URL field. Once you enter a dynamic URL, the URL parameters will appear under the parameter keys section in read-only fields. We recommend sending a minimum of one parameter. For GET requests, you can see in the formatting guide, both the key and value are sent in the request URL. For request size, you are limited to 20 kilobytes, while response sizes are supported up to 100 kilobytes. Should either of these be exceeded, an error will be displayed. Lastly, the real reason why we're here, maximizing your value from your investment in HelpShift. External data consumed in custom bots allows you to cut costs instead of increasing agent headcount or outsourcing to third-party providers. What we are looking at is the before and after calculations of using external data in custom bots. For both, the issue volume is based on 50,000 issues. The cost per full agent resolution is $5, which you end up saving completely when you automate. You've already spent the money on HelpShift and you're paying the agent costs, so reducing that through automation removes that cost. The before already includes $180,000 in annual savings through bot-assisted resolution compared to having agents fully resolve all issues. But adding full service resolution to your current workflows equates to an extra $600,000 in net savings by leveraging data that your organization already has, but bringing that into context within a custom bot. This savings can reduce the needed headcount to support issue volume you already have today and give your users the self-service experience they desire. This model shows 20% full automation, but the more you automate, the more you save. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into a demonstration and we'll show you how this works in the real world. As a friendly reminder, please type any questions you may have into the Q&A function and we'll go ahead and answer those at the end of the demonstration. switch over into my HelpShift instance. Okay, now let's see this live. We're going to hop into my dashboard. We're going to hit settings, and we're going to navigate to the external API requests. We are going to create two separate requests that we can utilize in a custom bot. The first example I'm going to set up is a retail example, getting the delivery information so that we can tell our customers if their package has been delivered. So going to hit new API request. We need to give this a name. We'll go ahead and call it retail get delivery details. And we need to select the method. In this case, it will be a post request. I'm going to add my target URL, which I set up through our AW instance for this webinar. For this, I'm going to choose custom auth, so I'm going to change my authentication method. Although, again, we do support basic authorization as well. I need to input my secret header and very secret authorization secret header, and go ahead and enter my secret code. For request formatting, we have URL encoding, but application JSON is going to be the most applicable for me for this request type. And remembering our best practice, we always want to add at least one parameter. For this, I'm going to add in code, which is just a generic parameter I define for this example. Now we need to test the setup and make sure this is working as expected. I'm going to go ahead and enter in a sample parameter to test and make sure this is correct. In the code parameter field, I'm going to enter in order detail. Hit test, and we're seeing a 200 OK status, meaning this is working as expected. Given this is passing the expected values, you can now see the response body and all the associated variables being passed in the JSON for this specific order detail. We can go ahead and hit next, and this allows us to configure the associated outputs. You can select or deselect the corresponding properties of the JSON request based on the data that you need. For this example, I'm going to go ahead and just leave all of these enabled. We're able to hit save, and we've successfully created our first external API, which we'll use in just a minute within a custom bot. Let's set up one more external API before we do so, this time focus on gaming. Since we have a few people here from gaming companies, I'm sure you're all too familiar with a refund request, so let's go ahead and try and automate this process. We're going to go ahead and create a new API request. We'll give this a title, call this Gaming History V1. Stylistically, I like to version everything in case I make iterations in the future, so I just want to call out a best practice of versioning your external calls in your naming conventions. We're going to get a get method, and I would need to input my target URL. We're going to use basic authorization for this one. So I'm going to input my username and going to input my password. And keeping in line with our best practices, once again, I need to input a query parameter to be passed with the request. So I'm going to include username for this one. Go ahead and hit next. We're going to test this once again. We'll input a placeholder value. Just call it something at random.com. And voila, success. We'll keep all the connected outputs. We're going to go ahead and hit save. And we now have two external APIs that we can build bots with. Now let's go build some custom bots that actually leverage those newly created endpoints. So go ahead and navigate over to bots, and we're going to use the retail as our first example. So this specific bot is for a use case of a missing package. I create a starting point on a AI-powered FAQ so that we can make best use of our time. We have a deflection message already created. We also require user text input before any API call can be made. So this capability actually serves to meet both criteria. Next, we're going to select the make a API request for the no, it did not help step. So make an API request. We're going to go ahead and give this a name. We'll just call it check recent delivery. And next we'll select the get delivery code details, which we just set up. And need to quickly hit test. And we are getting a status 200, which is a success. So let's input the code parameter, which is going to be the user email. Now, what you see here is success and failure. We can actually branch off our success criteria. And I'm going to set the variables we want, which is delivered. We want to create two rules, one that is delivered, one that is not. No match and failure will always be a required response type as catch-alls, so we don't actually need to define those. For the first, we'll just call that delivered, and we'll go ahead and select details.delivered, and that is true. I'll go ahead and add a new rule for not delivered. And that is just the converse. Details delivered is false. And hit done. And now you can see we have branching capabilities directly off the API call. To make best use of our time, I've already created the follow-on flows for each of these, so you don't have to watch me go through a laborious bot building process completely. So we're going to go ahead and connect the unlinked steps. So delivered, we're going to go ahead and connect the confirm not received. You can see that we now ask for a confirmation that no one else in the household has received that, and this flow then goes to an agent if they do confirm that. For this example, a status of not delivered gets auto-resolved, so we're going to go ahead and connect that step as well. And ask the customer to submit a new issue if it's not delivered in the next 3 to 5 days. For both no match and failure, we're going to send that directly to an agent. So we're going to go ahead and send that to and talk to agent. Having access to this information now within a custom bot, you can reduce the requirements for agents to tell the customers whether their package was delivered. There are still going to be times within a branch in a custom bot flow where agent intervention is required. But this flow will stop roughly 80% of these types of requests that actually need agents involved. So within the preview flow, you can see what this experience looks like. So we're going to go ahead and select app, our platform. We'll select Android as an example, and then English. Because we are assuming that there will be text entered on assignment from either the first user message or an automation, we actually need to type this in so the FAQs will surface. So I'm going to come over here and just type in missing package. And you can see that Quick Search Bot is trying to deflect my issue by surfacing a missing item from orders FAQ. I'm going to go ahead and click no, it did not help, so I can get into the flow. Because it is a preview flow and not a live call in your environment, we do need to select the API response, but you can test this out unpublished until you're ready to publish it into a test environment and validate. So I will go ahead and select delivered, but I'm not sure if anyone else in my household had received that on my behalf. I can select no at this point. I can go talk to my family. The issue gets auto-resolved, and I can reach back out if needed to submit an issue. So this is a way in which you could just test out the flow without having to even connect this to a test environment. And that is our retail example. Now I'm going to build out a refund bot for gaming. So we'll come into our gaming one that I set up. Quickly delete this step. Just like the last bot that we built out, I have a starting point for this exercise. We are only going to build out an API call for the user selection. I want a refund for the item I purchased, although I have already built out the other dependent workflows just so you can see what a potential complete workflow looks like. Even before we connect that call, I do want to open this up right here because this is a requested date feature. We assume that many company policies only offer returns within 14 days of purchase. So the first rule here is a branch, and you can open this up to see what this looks like within the refund time parameter. We can actually specify the collected date of refund within the last 14 days so that you can ensure even before a user hits that API call that it's in line with your company protocols and policies. What I need to do now is create the API call. So we're going to use a make an API request and within the refund timeframe branch. And we need to give this API a step name. So get gaming history is what we'll call this. And we're going to select the gaming history v1 that we built out, and we're going to hit test. We're getting a 200 response. I'm going to need to enter my parameters. I call it something at random.com again, and hit done. Just like the last one, I have the follow-on actions already created as well. So I'm going to reconnect these disconnected steps to showcase the end-to-end flow. If I can make the right selection. In the preceding steps, I want to call out that we are showcasing the user response options in the get information from user step based on the response options from the API call. We can specify the source step of the API response as the get gaming history call. So we're going to come down here and select that. And we need to select how we want to display this to your users. So I can choose the rows item and be able to display all the purchases that the user has made in the last 14 days. So you're asking which of these items you would like a refund for. We are returning the values of the call that we just made and displaying those so that the user can select the relevant items that are applicable for a refund. Go ahead and click done there. Now let's take a look at what that experience looks like within the preview flow so you can see what this looks like to your users. So we'll hit preview flow and select I want a refund for the item purchased. I'm going to go ahead and enter a date, keeping in mind that I have to select a date within the last 14 days. Otherwise, I won't be eligible for a refund based on the company policy. Again, the preview flow doesn't allow for a live API call, but so we have to define the either success or failure of this call. Now here's the capability I was discussing. I have 3 purchases that is being returned in an array, which is presented to the user to select. I have either 10,000 AVA coins, an assortment coin pack, or a pile coin pack. And I want a refund on my assortment coin pack, so I will select that option. And I need to specify I want a refund because this was an accidental purchase. We at this point could fully automate this workflow if you desire. However, for a lot of brands, these types of return requests are passed with full information to an agent to review and make sure it's in line with company policy. But what we've done is we've removed the requirement for agents to comb through your log data to find the relevant purchase, gather all the information, communicate to the client, and process the refund. Now, we're able to present all the relevant data, have them review before interacting with the client, and be able to approve and respond to the client immediately while processing the refund. All of this is about simplifying your workflows, allowing your agents to focus on the highest priority issues rather than their rote tasks, and maximize your investment in HelpShift. And that concludes the high-level overview of leveraging your external data to improve your custom bot experience. Before we open it up to Q&A, I do want to call out a great resource as you go through setting up your own external APIs. We have API docs.helpshift.com as a comprehensive resource that gives you all the call capabilities at your disposal. I can open up any of these calls and see the response class and all the parameter capabilities. This is extremely helpful when trying to pass data back into HelpShift and ensuring that you're mapping your fields correctly. Further, because you have to sign in with your own domain and your API key into our API documentation, this is specific to your instance. That means that you're able to input any specified parameter and be able to test the call out directly within this interface. And with that, I just want to thank you for joining the session today. We're going to go ahead and open this up to questions at this time. Give us just a quick minute and we'll transition into the Q&A. All right, looks like we got a few questions in here. The first one was, any thoughts why request and response size is restricted to 20 and 100 kilobytes? So the intent here was to ensure that we're optimizing for user experience. Any call in our system that takes longer than 12 seconds fails, and so these size limitations are to ensure that we are returning data to your customers within an applicable time frame. We're currently investigating ways to either increase the size limitations or to be able to create asynchronous calls in the future, but at this time being, these are the current limitations. Next question was, interested in how you can utilize APIs in concert with segmentation. What are your current recommendations on different API actions based on CIF or other metadata? That's a fantastic question. We see clients using external data to solve a myriad of different segmentation needs. First, you're able to branch off of a response call to segment your dependent workflows based on the external data. The second option is you could branch before the API call based on a CIF or other metadata and create very curated experience for your customers or players based on known information. An example of the latter would be, in the gaming world, be able to branch off of player spend, send VIP players directly to a queue for a white glove experience, and then offer free-to-play players self-service options through external APIs. How you want to offer these segmentations is really up to you and the use cases that you're trying to solve, but segmentation is absolutely possible, and it's really only bolstered when you include external data. And then the last question that I see in the chat is, our company uses no-code integration platforms. Are we able to use Zapier or IFTTT or Microsoft Power Automate instead of connecting directly to a source system? Yes, we absolutely work with any web-based integration layer that you're working with. The only qualifier that I would call out is you need to set up your call in the external integration system before you set up the external API in HelpShift. Order of operations is really specific. So make sure that you specify your 200, your 400, and your 401 response parameters so that you have all response types accounted for. And then that was the last question that I see in the chat. I just want to remind everyone to use our knowledge base articles for additional information on external APIs and our API docs for specific guidance on calls to the platform. Your CSM is also a great resource as well. If you have any questions on external API adoption, please reach out to them with any questions you may think of after this session. Thank you all for attending. Have a wonderful rest of your day.